The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Welcome back to the Nova Society, a space where dialogue deepens understanding and civic responsibility comes to life. I'm Dr. Mark Bound, joined by our regular panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon. Together, we'll unpack the stories that matter most, exploring the headlines, the history, and the big ideas shaping today's conversations. Let's dive in and hear what the panel has for us today.
Alrighty. So today we have a question from Myron, who is from Boston, Massachusetts. And Myron writes, ICE seems to have backed down in Minneapolis, yet it is being reported that there are over 18,000 cases currently in the court system challenging immigration detention. There are over 3,000 cases in Texas alone. I got these numbers from ProPublica. There is a new push for local law enforcement to step in. Some say it is their duty to arrest and charge federal agents for violating state and local laws. Why do you think this is not happening? Can and should local law enforcement intervene? Those are excellent questions. Excellent questions, Myron. Mark, you are the legal person.
Yes, they should. They should intervene. Why is it not happening? Because let's face it, it's a sticky legal situation. There is nothing that prevents you from arresting a federal officer. However, once you do that, it's not like arresting, the drunk driver, where you just go to the municipal court, you go to a magistrate, you go through just the normal, process here. You do a federal officer, now you get a whole bunch of other people involved that you probably don't want involved. And I think that's one of the things that keeps local law enforcement away from dealing with these, like the murders in Minnesota. In reality, that should be the purview of the Minneapolis Police Department. It happened it's within their jurisdiction, and they basically were shut out. And I get it. It's hard to push back against the federal government. It really is. But at some point in time, you've got to be able to do it. And I think that's one place. If that had happened, I'm just going to say this, and Tim Walz. I like Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. I do. I like him. I would have a beer with him. There's no doubt about it. But if this had happened in Illinois, in Chicago, I think Pritzker would have been far more take control than Walz was. I think Walz missed an opportunity. He's not planning on running again. He has nothing to lose. This is where he should have basically said, I'm gonna step in here. I am the governor of this state, and this is what's going to happen in my state. And he would have had the support of the mayor of Minneapolis. I think he would have had the support of the police chief. They were just looking for a little bit of cover from farther up the river. And I think that was a missed opportunity for Tim Walz. It was very disappointing in my mind that he did not do that, because I truly do believe that Pritzker or even Gavin Newsom, I think, would have stepped up. Now, for two different reasons. I think Pritzker's probably going to maybe run for president in 2028. I'm positive Newsom probably will run for president in 2028. So they're doing it for political points. But the fact is that even though they're not doing it for what really the reason should be, which be I'm the governor of this damn state, and you're in my state, I don't give a damn, and this is the way it's going to go, that was a missed opportunity. And I do believe that Pritzker and Newsom would have done that, and then we would have seen where push comes to shove. Then we would have seen exactly where push comes to shove. And to be perfectly honest with you, Myron from Boston, I think that the federal government would have been out of their league, because this really pissed off the people of Minnesota. The people of Minnesota would have been behind this. Now, if Walz had just stepped up to the plate, and I know he was dealing with that thing about the fraud and all this other stuff that was going on, but he's already announced he's not going to run. He's already announced he's done with politics. Finished. Now's your chance. You're no longer restrained. Go out there and do what you got to do.
And Mark, what is it that you wanted him to do?
I think, well,
I think Byron from Boston is saying, how come the local police aren't arresting
that's
ICE
correct.
officers?
And I think that's because after the first shooting, the first one, I can't, good. There was no response to this from the governor's office other than, the normal thoughts and prayers. Oh, this is terrible. Da, 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 da. I think that if he had come out and said, this has got to stop, or our local law enforcement who is there, is going to start arresting and charging people, even if they're federal agents. I think that would have, first of all, there's a possibility that would have made this attack, the second attack, the second death, maybe not even happen. But if he had come out and said that, now he had already talked about calling up the National Guard. Not to battle with ICE, not to do battle with ICE. No, that's not the way it's being framed. But with the mandate that, hey, if you see a law being broken, I don't care if it's our people or their people. You see a law being broken, you need to step in for the safety of the community. And if he had been able to give that kind of clear direction, other than, hey, everybody get out there with their phone and take a picture. Yes, that's very important. Document. I agree. Document. Absolutely. But you also have people that are law enforcement, trained law enforcement. And I think they should have set them loose. I honestly do. I think they should have set them loose, gave them that permission, because they don't know what to do. You're the cop on the beat. You don't know what you can do. You don't know what your sergeant's going to back up. You don't know what the captain's going to back up, and then the chief, and then, the mayor, and then, up the line. But if it starts right at the top, the governor of the state, and he says, listen, I've got your back. You see this? Now, I'm not saying kill anybody. I'm saying you're law enforcement. Enforce the law. And that means go in there and arrest their ass. And we'll sort it out. And I've got your back. That's to me, that's what I would say to Myron. That's exactly what should have happened.
Yeah, interesting.
Really? Interesting, huh?
I think the Attorney General, right?
Anybody.
The Minneapolis Attorney, the Minnesota Attorney General also would have backed that up, yes?
Absolutely.
As far as I know. I've listened to.
So would the district attorney of Minneapolis. They all would have.
Yeah. They all would have. I have a question along these same lines. Remember before we were talking that the ICE would show up with a warrant signed by one of their own people, and now apparently they're trying to make it so that they can show up without a warrant or with a genuine warrant or something, and they can actually arrest people in their homes, and it's not trespassing?
I don't know.
Okay.
It'll be challenged. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
So what did you have, Scott?
Well, I mean, I don't have a whole lot. The one thing I'll say is, as far as I can tell, professional courtesy in the blue wall generally prohibits them from arresting one another, and that they kind of defer to other officers of the law and don't tend not to arrest them. I mean, I know police get away with drinking and driving. I know police get away with murder. I spoke in an earlier podcast a while back, last week, I guess it was probably. I don't know if you've put it out there yet, about the incredible lawlessness of the Border Patrol.
Yep.
And that since its founding in 2005, the Department of Homeland Security has committed more crimes than immigrants have. And that the numbers are just absolutely wild, how criminal this particular organization is. Now, for that reason, I suppose, according to a poll released today by NBC News, 72% of respondents to that poll say that they need to either abolish or reform ICE. while 29% said that it should continue as it goes on. That's a pretty huge amount of people saying abolish or reform ICE. A larger share of them, more people, 43%, say that it needs to be reformed than abolished at 29%. So the American people are not, are not looking at this through rose-colored glasses. We know that there's a problem with the tactics that ICE and the Border Patrol officers have been using, especially in our cities. The poll found that 67% of people said that recent ICE and Border Patrol tactics have gone too far, while only 10% say they haven't gone far enough. I don't know what they're thinking about. And 23% say that they've been about right. So, this was a pretty big poll. This was almost 22,000 people polled. It's the margin of error here is only 2.4 percentage points. So that's a pretty robust poll. American people know that this is a problem. That ICE and the Border Patrol, this is a problem. And I don't think that there's any secret that they've been established or reestablished or refunded by the ugly AF bill to become a private army for Trump and I guess for MAGA. And yeah, it's not I don't think it's a healthy situation at all, you know. That we do need to do something about it, but I wouldn't have ever thought, honestly, that the police are going to start arresting the police. Just not, just something that just doesn't happen. Now, these guys who murdered Alex Preddy, they need to be hauled in front of a judge and a jury and tried for murder, because that's exactly what they committed. When and how that's going to happen, I'm not 100% sure, but it has to happen. And I'll go so far as to say that the guy who shot Renee Good needs to be hauled in front of a judge and jury as well and put up for trial for murder. So we seem to have calmed down a little bit. I mean, I know they withdrew 700 or planning to withdraw 700 of the 3,000 ICE officers that are in Minnesota right now. And I know that Pam Bondi this morning was defending what ICE has been doing in Memphis and different places. And I also know that only 14% of the people that they've arrested have any kind of criminal record at all. And that's probably not what was promised. I think that close to 100% of the people that they arrest should have criminal records if the promise of, the Laken Riley law and all the things that spurred this are going to be adhered to. That has to happen. And it's not. And you saw that I think it was an earlier podcast, talking about that guy from Florida, the congressman from Florida, who I support running against. And he wants to deport Puerto Ricans. He doesn't seem to understand that Puerto Ricans are American citizens. So, we're living at a time when anybody who speaks Spanish or has dark skin is a target of this private police force that is the child of the same Bill Barr police force that was operating in Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington, without insignia, without marked cars, driving around in vans, unmarked vans, and picking people up off the street if they were wearing black clothing, which I do pretty much all the time, and dragging them into the van and interrogating them, and then releasing them sometimes miles away from where they were picked up, without charging them for anything, without the ability to charge them for anything, because they haven't done anything wrong. And what we're seeing, I don't know what ProPublica, what the number was that ProPublica put out there, but there's an enormous number of people who have been wrongfully arrested and detained, thrown into detention camps where that are absolutely miserable from everything I've been reading, with no due process. And the Republicans are still saying, hey, immigrants don't get due process. No. The Constitution doesn't say citizens, it says persons. Anybody who is in this country gets due process, whether they're citizens or not, whether they're here legally or not, they get due process. And I heard today, I don't know if it's true or not, that Abrego Garcia is back on the menu, and that the little boy and his father who were detained down in Texas, who are now back in Minnesota, are once again facing deportation. And these people are becoming the standard bearers for everybody else. Basically, they're the symbols of the abuses of this administration when it comes to Hispanic people in general, or people of any kind of color at all, or anybody who has any kind of an accent. It's absolutely disgraceful, and somebody needs to do something about it. Whatever that ends up being, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the cops, unless something wildly changes about the way the police do their business, that are going to be the ones who are going out and arresting them.
Well, all right. So here's where I will give a little pushback on that. You're right. There's the blue wall. I totally agree. Yes, if you're a cop, you probably get away with a little bit more. I don't think they see ICE as cops. I guess it's really a question of how they view ICE. Now, the FBI, and again, my dad was a sheriff for many, many years. They hated having to work with the FBI, but they did. It's just kind of the way it works. When the FBI gets in, they think they're the big dog, and you're just the local Andy Taylor and Barney Fife, and let us at it. And he always said, whenever there was an investigation in the FBI, he'd come home and he'd say, "Oh gosh, this is the damn FBI again." But they always viewed them as part of law enforcement. I don't know if they view ICE as this. Now, maybe they do. It's very, very possible. I put more to the emphasis that they don't know how much backing they've got, because let's face it, this is the federal government. This is the private police force of the president. This is the 17th largest army in the world. And they want to know, hey, if I'm going to do something, do I have the backing of far more powerful people than just, say, a patrolman on the street? And that is another thing about the police. They will be extremely careful. That's why you see a lot of times they'll call a supervisor. They want backup, because we're such a litigious society. We litigate everything. They're afraid sometimes to do some things, so they want backup. That's why we have the body cameras and stuff, so there's a documented record of this. And again, I think that when they look at ICE, I don't think they see brothers in blue. I really don't. And I wish my dad was alive, because I would ask him that. Do you see these people as brothers in blue? And I'm almost positive my father would say, no, I see these guys as, they're the Proud Boys that have been legitimatized by the president. That's all they are. And no. He would probably see a forest ranger more as somebody that was legitimate law enforcement, or somebody from the DEA, or the Fish and Game Wildlife. Because they always they always respected them, the people in Fish and Wildlife and those other agencies outside of the mainstream, what would be considered mainstream police forces. And there was always opinions. I mean, like I said, my dad was a sheriff. His comment about the state police of New York was, yes, they're the governor's goons. But they have a function. They do it well. And you got to work with everybody every once in a while. But when we're talking about something beyond the traditional FBI. We're talking something totally created, and I don't know if they'd get that kind of. You could be totally right, Scott, but I just don't know if they'd get that kind of legitimacy and that kind of respect from. I think it's more of a matter of who's got my back. But hey, next one. Do we have another one?
Yeah, thank you. I thought that's interesting. I tend to agree with you, Mark.
Oh
I would
no!
have
You
to.
watched Megyn Kelly. Don't agree with me.
What? What? No, I would. And I did ask. I've been wanting to ask, like, my local guy, the local chief here, what he thinks, privately and off the record, what he thinks, because I'd really like to know what he thinks.
Might be a good
And I
place to
have
start.
not. Yeah, it would be really good. Okay. We have a question from Rebecca from Roanoke, Virginia. And Rebecca writes, your panel has discussed the Steve Bannon strategy of flooding the zone to create confusion. Today we have ICE, Bad Bunny, Olympic athletes speaking out, the Epstein Files, Greenland, the East Wing of the White House, Israel and Iran, and of course the almost forgotten war in Ukraine. With all that is going on, it's hard to keep up. Stories seem to come and go without any resolution or closure. Then they pop up every so often to divert our attention from something else. Now, you've talked about the strategy, but let me ask, what do you see as the solution? How can the average American be informed when there is so much noise? I get that the strategy is to overwhelm. So what would you say we can do to not be overwhelmed? Very
watch
good
Megyn
question,
Kelly.
Rebecca.
That's
No.
number one. That's a good question. I mean, it really is, because we talk about the strategy a lot, and we talk about how it works, and it's from back. If you want to read Mein Kampf, that's exactly what it's in there as well. Came out today or yesterday. Trump now appears 1 million times in the Epstein Files, which is more times than the name Harry Potter appears in the Harry Potter 7-book series. I mean, it's like the most amazing thing.
I think the name Trump is in there more than there are periods and commas.
Yes. I mean, it's just, yeah. So either that means somebody doesn't have very good punctuation in English, or just Trump is in there a lot. And again, more stuff. And I think the thing that gets me is the writer is correct. We get it for like 2 weeks. It's very, very interesting. I mean, I remember when Brooklyn and I started this 5 years ago, we were talking about Ukraine in year 2, I believe it was. And that was a focus. And then it kind of went away. It kind of went away. I see it in the emails that we get. Now, I didn't put it in this week's group, but about the Obama meme with the apes, and that will be in next week. It just, people focus on different things, and I noticed that when Scott joined us 3 years ago, there was a lot of questions about topics that are never brought up again. But the issue still sits. It's unresolved. So I think it follows the attention span, and this is not being disparaging to our listeners. It's not being disparaging to anybody. It is a matter of, it follows the attention span of our populace. So we have an attention span maybe last 2 weeks, maybe I'm giving it a little too much credit. And then if it starts to look bad for somebody, they're going to bring something else in. The Obama meme came out, the other day. Now all of a sudden we're bringing out that Trump shows up in the Epstein Files for 1 million times. So now we've got Bondi in front of Congress. And by what I'm getting, the news feeds coming across, it's not going well. I think your wife's going to be very entertained by it, Scott, if that's what she's watching, because it's not going well. There's a lot of yelling going back and forth. So that's the issue that we run into. How do you combat that? The only way is to put your head in the sand, or to say, all right, fine, the hell with everything. There are 330 million people in this nation. I'm going to get a group of, say, 5 people together. We're each going to pick 3 things, and that's all we're going to pay attention to. And the other 4 will be doing their own 3 things. So I'll still be informed, but I'm going to focus on these things here. And that's what I'm going to pay attention to, nothing else. I'm not going to be distracted. Because I know one of my 4 friends who have their own 3 things, they pick it up. I mean, it sounds like a convoluted way, but you know what? I honestly think that's the only way you can do it. Because if you try to keep up, I mean, we had a podcast last month where a listener sent us a report from the ACLU. And when I sent it out to Scott and to you, Brooke, Scott's like, yeah, we got to talk about this. Because we didn't know it existed. We didn't know it existed. And we're pretty well informed about stuff, but we did not know that this existed. And because you can't keep up. You just cannot keep up. You would need an army, an absolute army of people to keep up with all of this. And you're right. A story will capture the attention, and then something else shiny will show up, and we'll all turn to that. And again, you're right too. You don't hear as much in the news about the Ukrainian war like you did before. You don't hear much about Gaza very much anymore, other than when Netanyahu's coming over here. When was the last time you heard about Black Lives Matter or Me Too? And they still exist. That problem still is there. So, it's an effective strategy. I really don't know the answer. I wish I did, because I'd probably make $1 gazillion out of it if I did know the answer to being able to combat this. Because again, you'd have to have an army. So the best thing I can do is say, again, get your 5-friend idea. Go with that.
Yes.
Go with that and stick to it. And don't listen to Megyn Kelly.
No,
don't
ever
again. Ever again. You will be banned for a week. We'll put you in the timeout penalty box if we ever hear that you listen to Megyn Kelly, even for a little bit, because that it just corrupts your brain.
Yeah, well, that was directed at me, Rebecca, not you. Yeah, what you're talking about, Mark. Yeah, and the other issue, there's the Alawites in Syria are still being murdered, and Canada is not on the list either. I mean, it's endless. Greenland, yeah. And so what you're talking about, Mark, is Elliot, and I think it's Elliot Aronson's the Jigsaw Classroom. There is an actual this is an actual praxis. And then, Rebecca, what you do is you and each of your friends will inform the others of what you learned. So the key points, the primary points. So everyone is informed of the major issues, and it's like a book club.
So this really is a thing.
Yes, it is.
So I didn't come up with this out of my own little head sitting here?
Yeah, and it's shit. Elliot.
I was going to take credit for it.
Nope. It's called
damn it.
It's called the Jigsaw Classroom, and it's from, I think it's Elliot. It's his last name is Aronson, and yeah, you can look it up.
I'm not going to look it up because now I'm mad that I can't take credit.
No, I'm sorry you can't. And I've done this. I've done this in trainings that I've run, and it works incredibly well. So
it works well if the people that you are in the group with, you can trust.
Yeah,
and have a brain.
Everyone has to participate, and you can always, of course, change topics. But that is how that would be an excellent idea. Yeah. So you have everyone picks a topic, and then you become an expert on that topic, and you don't overwhelm yourself. And then you teach the others what you have learned, and you learn from them. And I mean, that's the best you can do, because you will overwhelm yourself, and you have to manage your mental health and wellness. And tuning out, excuse me, is not a good idea.
But the fact is that when they flood the zone with so much stuff, there's always going to be something that is going to, that you're going to be able to latch onto. Brooklyn is very, very tied to Canada. So she really focuses a lot on what happens to Canada, even though she watches Megyn Kelly. Don't ever do that again. Yeah, I mean, so we each go I always say we all run home. We all run home to the information that informs us and the information that interests us. But I mean, so I think that's something that this is a good example of it. That we get extremely focused on stuff.
And this is why you should do the Aronson thing that Mark mentioned.
There you go.
Friends, go do what interests you.
There you go. And that's exactly right. And become an expert.
That the bound thing that Aronson talked about.
Yeah, we're not even. Yeah, I'm going to look this Aronson guy up. I don't know. I'm not sure he truly exists. I think he's fake news. So we're gonna check him out because I thought that was an original idea. So Scott, what advice do you have?
You got to copyright that.
Yeah, I'm writing my lawyer as we speak.
So I got two things about this, and I think it's a great question, and it is hard not to feel overwhelmed, and that is a tactic that fascists use, right?
Maybe I'm a fascist.
What's his name? The Yale professor who moves to Canada, Stanley, Jason Stanley, left Yale to go to Canada because he felt that if he stayed at Yale, Yale was going to come under pressure to shut him up or pay money to Trump somehow or another. And he was really one of the first people to note, I think, that Trump's politics is fascist. And by that, I mean, he evokes a mythic past, which Trump certainly does, make America great again. It relies on a sense of unreality, which is certainly true. The performative aspects of everything it seems the Trump administration do, especially members of his cabinet, really seems at times almost surreal. And just to add to that, Doug Burgum saying that carbon dioxide is a good thing. It's a natural thing. And we should all embrace carbon dioxide by burning more coal. And, that's was the Interior Secretary? Relying on a sense of victimhood, which is certainly a huge MAGA thing, right? They're always the victim and they're always the hero at the same exact time. Trump is always a victim. He's the most beset upon president of all time, even more so than Lincoln. And then they use the cloak of law and order to hide their corruption and attack scapegoats, which in our case is immigrants, legal or otherwise. They don't really make that distinction anymore. And I want to say that every time they say illegals, the first thing I think of is no, those people are legal. They're doing it the right way, and that's still not good enough for you. And the last part of it is to flood the zone, to so completely overwhelm people that they give up. Now, I have to say that I am disturbed somewhat by the obsession that my wife has with what's going on in this country right now. I find it somewhat troubling. I have this outlet here, and I write an awful lot on Facebook about the way I think about things. My wife actually said to me last week, she happened to listen to us record this, and she said, I think Mark was a little nervous about what you said. I was dressing down Trump and reading some of the Epstein Files out loud. She said, Mark changed the subject almost immediately because I think that he was nervous about what you were saying. And she said, I got to tell you, Scott, I'm nervous about it too. You're going to end up putting all of us in concentration camps before you're done. And I said, well, that would be a problem, but it is a problem that we're trying to fix just by talking about it and letting people know that this stuff is going on. Now, I have this as an outlet, and I use Facebook as an outlet. My wife is postcarding like crazy. My wife is active, and she's active locally. There's a group of mostly women, mostly retired women, older women, who get together on the phone almost every night, it seems. They get together in person at least twice a week, and they pick something that they want to do, something that they want to accomplish, something that they want to learn. They bring in speakers if they want to learn something. They bring in local politicians who are running against incumbents here locally in Connecticut, and they will reach out. They were writing postcards for New Jersey, and they have written postcards for Texas and other places like that. And they make dozens and dozens of phone calls to Congress people all the time, every day she's on the phone with them yelling about something or other and speaking to staff members to get registered in as to what her complaint is about some stand that the congressperson has taken or is not fighting hard enough against, and so on and so forth. These are all good things. Like, do something locally, find a local thing. And then there are plenty of issues that you can choose from. There's huge lists of issues, and you don't have to be an expert in all of them, right? And we're not experts. Uh, Certainly, we try to take an academic viewpoint of these things and talk about them. I refuse to say I'm not a pundit. I'm not a journalist. That's not my lane. But there are certainly lots of causes that you can speak out to, and don't be afraid to just pick one or two and focus on that and try to make a difference there. We are a big army. We have a lot of people. We don't all have to do the same thing. We can attack on different fronts. And then last but not least, I would say that the most important thing that we can do is find these senators. Get the Senate. We need the Senate. Having the House, which we're likely to get, is great, but it's not good enough. We need the US Senate, and we need it in a big way. I think we can identify 4 seats that we can get. That's kind of what we need to get a little bit ahead. But really, there have got to be good candidates out there who are willing to run. Let the other side get the nuts. Let them get the Herschel Walkers and the witches from Delaware or whatever the biggest lunatics in the world are, Donald Trump and the rest of them. Let's get good candidates. Let's support them, and let's get them elected. And let's flip the Senate, and so that we have a chance to get those senators that we need on the Republican side to go up to Donald Trump and say, you have to stop doing what you're doing, or we can no longer support you. And if we don't support you, you are out. We'll join with the Democrats and we will vote you out. You'll be impeached and removed from office. And that's the only way to control him. And then the last part I'll leave to the Scott Galloways of the world, who say, unsubscribe, get rid of things, boycott, make them feel a lot of pain. It's going to and sustain it. It's going to have to last for a while. The bus boycott in Montgomery was a year, I think, before it had any kind of effect on anybody there. But we can make this happen. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to pay attention to everything. Lord knows, I know Brooke is here paying attention to Canada. I pay no attention to Canada. I had no idea about this bridge thing until it was mentioned. There are a whole bunch of causes that I think are really important, but I can't concentrate on them. But I mean, here's just a short list of things that you can get involved with if you want on a local level to make a difference in the world. Reproductive rights, LGBTQI rights, racial justice, gun reform, indigenous people's rights, immigration rights, disability justice, climate justice, anti-censorship and book bans, public education, labor rights, food justice, prison abolition, housing equities, mental health access, veteran support, healthcare access, anti-corruption, government accountability. Any number of these, any one of these is a way to make a difference. Just grab onto it, do what you can, do it locally, and you can make a difference. You don't have to cover the world. Just do your bit. That's what my mom always used to tell me. They said that in Great Britain during World War II, everybody needs to do their bit. And just by doing your bit, I believe that we can make a difference.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I know that we're very big on the autism because we have a grandchild that is. It's local. And it becomes nation, and it can become national. Pick something that you're passionate about. If it's politics, fine. If it's not politics, fine. I really wish I knew what Rory thought I got nervous about. Now that had me thinking. I'm going to have to go back and listen because I can't remember that you said anything in the last time we met that made me at all nervous.
Yes, it was something to do with the Epstein Files and a dialogue that was going on between Bannon and Epstein. And I was reading it out loud, and then when I got done with it, I don't remember if you actually changed the subject or you sort of did a qualifier like we're saying allegedly here, we're not accusing anybody of anything or something along those lines.
Yeah, that comes from Shepherd Broad Law School down in old Nova Southeastern. I mean, Scott, you make such a good point, and I am going to call and I'm going to get that copyrighted, that idea, no matter what Brooklyn says. I think it's mine, and I'm going to stick to that. But Brooklyn's correct. I actually did look it up. Yes, somebody else did come up with it. I'd never heard of him. I had no idea. It's amazing. Great minds work alike. But, this is what you have to do. And I think you're going to find, and Scott makes another great point. This is an outlet for us. This is why this is not monetized. This is why this is none of those things. This is an outlet. Three people from, granted, but we're three very different people. If you really look at it, we are truly three very, very different people. And even though we're educated, our education is the same, and we all went to the same university, and we're all pretty much close to about the same age. Our backgrounds are totally different, except Geronimo's down in Fort Lauderdale. And
no, that's different. I don't drink.
Oh yeah, well, okay, well, all right. So Brooklyn didn't go to Geronimo's. Okay, yeah, okay, but yeah, it's an outlet. Maybe this is the outlet. Although I'm not looking for competition for us, but the fact is maybe this is the outlet you've got to do. Maybe it's the once a week getting on Teams or FaceTime or whatever and talking to friends and talking this stuff out and finding people that are not exactly like you, that are totally not exactly like you. I will say this, and I think this goes for all three of us. Not everything any one of us says does the other two totally agree with all the time. Not everything, because we look at it from our own perspective. And that is a very important thing. And it's important for us to see the perspective of other people, to be able to kind of give some context to what we are seeing, on our newsfeed. And the other thing, if that doesn't work for you, Randy Rainbow on YouTube, listen to him. He's absolutely great. And some of the A Closer Look with Seth Meyers is really good, and Jimmy Kimmel, who's now been unleashed, is very, very good. Every morning I got to get up. I got to see what his monologue was the night before, because it's absolutely hilarious stuff. And The Daily Show, things like that. Sometimes just getting that laugh out of stuff, how ridiculous this stuff truly is. Sometimes that's exactly what you need, to see just how absolutely ridiculous this is. And you sit back and you ask yourself, okay, why is this making me nuts? And who knows? Who knows? All right. And that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We want to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing team, Apple Podcasts, the largest source of podcast and music online, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your destination for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. And most importantly, we want to thank you, our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society could not be possible. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing on the platform of your choice. It's easy, it's free, and helps our channel grow. For questions or comments, you can reach us at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So on behalf of Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershworth, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power of society is knowledge. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Phoenix Research Group, an independent research consortium dedicated to providing solutions to social and political issues for NGOs and international government agencies. Through multidisciplinary, nonpartisan, and unbiased research, the Phoenix Research Group advances understanding and practical strategies for complex challenges. The Phoenix Research Group is a division of the Phoenix Research Institute, the producer of the Nova Society podcast.